Oh, good morning, everybody. It's Target Individual CJBK. It is Friday, 3:40 a.m. Um, I've been going for a while. Just gonna listen to day one of these, and I don't know if you could hear, if you heard it, in the background of me talking just now, but they're trying to readjust their amp that they have on the floor so that they can send their vibrations through the floor, and then I receive the energy, the radioactive energy portion of it. Well, anyway, because I mean, what could you really be moving around this heavy at 3:40 in the morning, especially as soon as I wake up, you know? But anyway, yeah. So if you've been paying attention to the things that I've been posting, um, you can tell that we're getting closer. Um, I love the fact that a TR that I haven't met her in person, but she's been tagging me in a lot of really really great information that she finds either in the news or studies that have been published, and it was about these two senators. I'm sorry, I'll be spoiling myself sometimes. Um, yeah, I'm sipping. Anyway, so, um, and I'm sure you heard it again. So, or what I mean by it is the readjustment of the amp or speaker. Um, so, right. So these two senators, Democrat senators of New Mexico and Oregon, um, they're in the news for writing a letter to the CIA that basically asked them to disclose information of this CIA, this secretive program that the CIA has that basically contracts out to people, to citizens who are not CIA agents, who has been trained to use secretive secret technologies to be able to obtain information about about basically every American in the country or whatever. And I'm not even going to get into the global aspect of it, but as far as the United States, the CIA is on record. If you look up Executive Order 12333, um, it explains some in detail about certain parameters that they will use, that involves using devices not necessarily pertaining to phone, like not necessarily pertaining to wiretapping, physical stalking, physical stalking, or video recordings and things of that sort. Let me see if I can remember. Well, if you go back to I think it's maybe the second to last video, you'll see it in detail because I made sure I did a slow kind of like I made sure I did like a slow screenshot like recording of the article and all the details that's being provided. So, a long story short, it talks about how it gives them like this loophole to use any device or apparatus that can be used for obtaining, information from people. Now, with everything that I know about chemtrails, with scientists claiming that they're spraying nanoparticles, which are basically like metals, into the atmosphere, which then floats down, and as they absorb the ultraviolet rays from the sun, we also inhale them, which also is, because our bodies produce an energy, a natural energy. When we inhale these, I guess you can call them ionized, whatchamacallit, nanoparticles, as we inhale them and they get into our bloodstream and they, basically get stored in our brain and everything, our bodies become even more conductive, or pretty much kind of, when you think about it, we become lit up like a Christmas tree even more for devices that are now surveillance devices that are now capable of sensing the electromagnetic field of just about everything. And the military has been like, I've definitely seen the documents that state the military have access to surveillance technology that can basically sense the electromagnetic field of everything, not just electronics, but people too. And one of the ways that they're able to do this is not just via satellite, but um, they're using the radio frequencies that are pulsed from just about any, or not even just the radio frequency, but they're using the electromagnetic fields that are pulsed from just about any electronic device, cell towers, cell phones, Wi-Fi routers, what else? Power lines, anything that can produce an electromagnetic field. Um, Matter of fact, if you think about the videos that I've been posting where you see the architecture of radio, and if you notice when you look in the sky, you see those pulsing, vibrating looking dome like thing, not the ones that's coming out and they spread outward like like the little triangles. That's data coming from cell towers. But the ones when you look up and then you see the pulsing like dome looking stuff, and then you when you notice, if I when I look down, you see the same little pulsing stuff. That is basically what it would look like from a augmented perspective of the constant man-made electromagnetic field that's surrounding us all, right? So as we're walking through, our electromagnetic field is being basically visible um, to devices that probably have like the same um, mechanisms integrated into the surveillance um, technology, like the EEG, the fMRI, all that same like probably software, or the algorithms are like integrated with you know the sensors that they're using that detect electromagnetic fields. They're being integrated at the same time, and then they can use like a magnetic photon laser beam to basically scan the body for resonant frequencies, right? Then remember, I'm not an expert at this. I'm literally just trying to piece things together. But I love the fact that as I'm piecing these things together, um, there are um, people who are doing the same thing, and then I'm realizing we're like me and that person are actually on the same thought process. So it's like, I'm not saying I'm 100% certain this is how it works, but um it's nice to see that, like, whenever I come across information, or whether it's a published article, or it's a scientific study that's backed by several names of, acclaimed, physicians, or technicians, you know, scientists, whatever, and they're basically explaining it in detail, if not just like how I'm thinking it works, but damn near close to how I thought it worked. And, you know, I'm just glad that I'm not too far off. So that just lets me know it's all about to come out soon. It's all about to come out soon. Because just remember, like in the Cold War, the U.S. experimented on, citizens using radiation as well, during the Cold War. But, they waited long enough till they were finished with their experiment, and then eventually they stopped, right? Eventually they stopped, and then it took several years for it to come out, but eventually, in 1995, 1996, Bill Clinton held a press conference where he apologized for the United States, even though he wasn't president at the time, I believe. He apologized for, was he president at the time? I don't think so. No, Cold War, that was a different, I think Cold War, that was a different, president at the time. But, yeah, so, um, Bill Clinton apologized for the U.S., experimenting with radiation on citizens, inland. But anyway, so, yeah, and then if you have watched, the video that says live recording of synthetic telepathy, um, yeah, you can see that you can actually record your synthetic telepathy. I know some people have tried doing it where they use something called hear boost, or they use some type of app that picked up like ultrasonic sound. Anything that's a very extreme, very low, or super low frequencies, and they could pick it up, and then you just increase the volume gain of the mic or something like that. What else? Then, all you gotta do is you take the original file, edit it, increase the volume, and try to reduce the noise feedback, and eventually you'll be able to reveal the voices of your synthetic telepathy, or V2K for people who's not really sure what synthetic telepathy means. What else? My perps, they basically have been popping out more left and right, or rather because I received the synthetic telepathy, I hear, like, they're on like 24/7, so they're basically constantly always trying to see if they can put fear into my heart about, everybody know that you a snitch now, everybody, and then I'm thinking to myself, like, so what they're trying to tell me, well, I know it's not everybody, but then at the same time, even those who aren't necessarily working with them, they're just, well, not less, okay, maybe I shouldn't say working with them, but they're not necessarily actively doing things to other people, but they're just going along with it. The main perp, I would say, I wish I could be able to, like, project the face of the person into this video. That would be crazy if I could do that. Matter of fact, maybe I should get a type of headwear device where I can place it on my head and then, connect it to my phone, and then that way I can then project my very own memories into my phone, and then because I have photographic memory that works, that's super fine tuned, and I can see it now if I were to actually just be able to replay everything that I experienced on, what day was that? I think it was like March, was it March 14th or 15th? No, it was a few days after my birthday, I believe. Because I keep trying to run that scenario through my head. Like one TI told me that, maybe that situation, that domestic violence thing was a setup just to see if you would, call the police on people or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, but that would be such an elaborate plan though. Because it's like, I remember the details so fine tuned. So I'm going to just run through it once more. Me and my friend that was visiting from Texas, we were about to walk out my apartment and go do our thing. We were about to go do separate things. The next thing you know, as I'm like sitting on the armchair of my living room, waiting for her to get her things together. I think that's how it went. But anyway, we were both in our apartment, and then all of a sudden we hear this woman, probably about somewhere between the age of like 23 and 27. She's like, help, somebody call the police. He hit me. And then I'm thinking to myself, what? And then, my friend, she has told me stories about how, she's been in domestic violence situations. And, I'm just sitting there, thinking to myself, I'm listening intently, but I don't have the innate reaction to go and stick my head outside, because I'm like, you never know in New York, because sometimes people could just be playing, or, you don't necessarily get yourself involved right away. You kind of just like, you sit back and you just like, you wait for you wait for more clues or whatever. But then my friend, she's like, Chris, I think you should go out there and check it out, because, and then she was like, men in Houston don't play that men hitting women bullshit. That's some bitch ass shit. So I was just like, all right, I'm gonna look outside. So I remember I stuck my head outside the door, and I see it's this one dude. Dude looked like he probably about 160 pounds. And then funny thing is, as interesting as coincidental as this scene, dude was like a light brown skin tone dude. Not too brown skin, kind of like a light coffee. And he had his hair. His hair was out, like he probably get braids or something, but his hair was out in like an afro. And he had on a white tank top, aka, for those of us who know the lingo, he had on a wife beater. The irony of it all, and some shorts, like some basketball shorts. It was him. The girls, they were facing like, towards, not towards my door, but they were facing, like, he was facing down the hall, but he was in my direction. So like, when my doors, like, let's say if you're coming down the hallway, my door is on the left side. He was facing the side of the hallway that's basically, if I was standing in my doorway coming out the door, to the right would be going towards the elevator. So he was facing um to that right side, and then the woman was in front of him, and she was like, "Give me my phone, give me my phone." And he was like, I seen the phone was in his hand, and he was like playing keep away with the phone and whatnot. And then as I look down the hallway, I see his mother, because his mother is the one that actually lived at an apartment, and she seemed cool. Because like, when I moved there, she was nice, she was neighborly. We ain't never had problem with nobody. with each other. And for the most part, there's a staircase that splits our apartment. So she could never really hear anything coming from my apartment because, there's a staircase in between us. The only neighbor who would ever complain about noise that I would make, which would be hard because I don't even sleep in my bedroom, and my bedroom is the only wall that's connected to the apartment that was next to me. Um, and at the time, I didn't have a bed really, so I was always sleeping in my living room. Um, and for the most part, I always kept most of the time I always kept my bedroom door closed in. So whatever noise I could have been making in my living room, there's no way that they could have been hearing it, through my bedroom because my bedroom door was always closed. And then my bathroom, I believe, basically, my bathroom wall basically was on the adjacent side of their bathroom wall. So there's no way they could complain about noise um, coming from their bathroom. So, you know, other times when I think about, when they were doing their sensitization, I used to hear knocks on the bathroom wall, but it was coming from their bathroom wall. And it would always be the same sound. It would be, how did the knocks go? Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that's how it used to go. It used to go dun, 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 dun. Was it like that, or was it like dun, 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 dun? I forgot. But anyway, so it was him, the young girl. His mother was like about like a good 7-8 feet behind him, and then there was two other dudes all the way down towards the apartment door. It was one dude standing to one side of the door, and then another dude standing in the door frame. And they were quiet. They weren't even really saying nothing. They were just looking at their phone. They looked up at me one time, and then they kind of just looked down at their phone. Now, what's interesting is when you think about electronic harassment and everything, that was one of the key things that a lot of TIs complained about was seeing people do that same motion where they would look at their phone, look at you, and then look back down at their phone. Now, all right, so, and that's another thing that makes me think it was a setup too. But that's a rabbit hole I can't even really digest. Not even digest, but I can't even like really go through that. But yeah. So my friend, she comes from behind me and walks into the hole, and she's like, "Girl, you all right?" And whatchamacallit, she's looking at the girl's phone, and I just kind of step into the hole. I don't say a word. I'm literally just standing there. I'm literally just standing there. I don't say not one word. I'm literally just standing there. And then all of a sudden my friend says, and this is what kind of blows my mind too, because I'm like, she usually always has her phone on her, unless, she forgot it in the apartment. But she says, "Chris, let me get your phone so I could call the police." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking at the situation myself. I'm like, I don't see a reason to call the police. I mean, he not hitting her now, but I mean, at the same time, I didn't hear no thuds or smack or anything like that. I didn't hear nothing. All I heard was her in the hallway saying, "Someone call the police. He hit me." Now, what you call it? So, um, I just gave him my phone. I'm like, if you really think it's that serious, I'm like, here. I just gave him my phone. I'm not thinking at some point this is all gonna be some elaborate plan to see if I'm a snitch, or if it's gonna be some type of, way to say that I'm a snitch or whatever like that. Cause I ain't never snitched on nobody a day in my life, you know. So, but that's pretty much how how I think all of this started, based on that one thing. And then the perps, because they're basically extracting memories and thoughts from my mind, and they probably been surveilling me since I moved into that building in September 2019. Since they've been probably recording my every movement around that building. Um, whatchamacallit? They were like, "Oh, he was like smoking every day." Yes, I was smoking weed, but I mean, at this point, it was 2019. Like, how many people in this city don't smoke either weed or cigarettes or whatever? And then it was quarantine on top of that. So we're talking. You're basically in lockdown, right? And I live alone, so it was like, you know, I did have moments where I was just like, I had developed like this kind of bad cycle where, you know, I know I needed to get out the house. So I would basically just go out for walks around the block or whatever, and I would smoke. I would smoke while I'm walking around the block because I don't know, like maybe I was going through cabin fever. Who knows? But anyway, so he was like, oh, he was smoking, like he was smoking like every day, da 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 da. And then the part that gets me the most was he used to always say he wasn't moving properly. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? He wasn't moving properly. And I'm just thinking like I know I've heard it in the past, and look, I'm getting chills as I'm telling this story. That's usually like a sign from God that lets me know keep going. But he's like, oh, he's not moving properly. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck does that mean? He's not moving properly. And I'm thinking, and when I think about it, I think about the Matrix. I'm literally thinking about the Matrix because I'm like, he's not moving like we supposed to be moving like robots or something. Like we all supposed to have a task, or we're all supposed to just be moving in particular ways or something like that. So I'm like, what are they talking about? And he's like, he's not moving properly. And whatchamacallit, so yeah, the other part, and then the other thing is, after learning all the different ways that they can basically hack your phone, make phone calls from your phone, probably send text messages from your phone, view everything on your phone, all using ultrasonic vibrations that basically can communicate with Siri or what's the Google Assistant. They can basically access your phone through vibrations, and your microphone will pick it up as like a voice command. Even though I thought I turned my Siri off, but I guess they can still access the Siri anyway, and Siri will open up the phone, and they can bypass all passcodes and things of that sort. And they used to say, "Oh, he used to call the police on everybody." And I'm thinking to myself, like, none of that makes sense because I've lived in New York City nearly my entire life, except for 2 years that I used to go to. I was going to college in North Carolina, but I lived in New York City my entire life. I've never called the police on anybody. I mean, hell, the only time I ever called the police was when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I had woke up one day in the house and got scared because nobody was there, so I called the police. And little did I know that was probably one of the worst things I could have did because when they came and got me, they was ready to actually send me to get my mother and sister could tell you this story too. But when they came and got me, they took me to like child protective services, and then brought me to this building. Little did I know that they literally had a family ready to adopt until my mom's and cousin came and got me. I'm in a room playing with toys and stuff, not even realize I'm about to have a whole new family. But that was by the grace of God that they found me because I had no idea what I just did to myself. That was the last time I ever called the police for anything. So right. Um so they're like, "Oh, he called the police on everybody." And I'm thinking to myself, I would never call the police on nobody. If it ain't something that I can fix myself or something that I can't handle myself, I still don't think I would call the police because I know too many people, you know, I ain't going I know people, right? I know too many people for me to want to call the police, right? I'm gonna just put it that way. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, hold up, how they gonna say that I'm a snitch? And like, I ain't never done nothing to ever give anybody the idea. I hope you didn't hear that. Yeah, I farted, whatever. But I ain't never done gave nobody the idea that I was a snitch. And I've been cool with people in the streets my entire life. So how is it that all of a sudden, when all this weird ass surveillance shit start happening now, and then I don't like the fact that somebody is transmitting voice like their voice into my head synthetically, proving to me that they can, disrupt my cellular network connectivity. They can basically, um, change the electrical circuitry. Well, actually, no, that and that part they probably had got like a technician or whatever that they have on their payroll or in their system that's helping or whatever. He probably switched my circuitry of my circuit breaker to my old apartment. But yeah, all of these things that they were doing were basically tactics on how to, I guess, create stressful environments for me, right? So, and then their whole thing was like, "Oh, you're not a target. Your phone's the target." And then they was like, "You're not supposed to be a target. Your target practice." This is after I done started learning about targeted individuals and things of that sort. So they're like, "You're not a target. Your phone's a target. You're supposed to be target practice." You know. And then I remember when I didn't necessarily understand, the technological side of how they're able to do all this. I went to a hospital to, see if, see if they can help me or at least give me a brain scan to see what if there's anything going on. Um the first hospital I went to, they didn't do nothing but just put me in a room and then just observed me. And then while I was in that room, there were several people there that kind of seemed like they knew the staff and like they've been there a few times. And I'm like, what in the world? Then I remember there was one dude that was flicking something in his hand that sounded like a razor blade. He was like, he don't realize I got the razor blade on me. And I'm just thinking to myself, you know what? I'm not going to sleep. These motherfuckers in here are actually crazy. So, and I remember the nurse tried to give me some type of pill. I forgot the name of the pill. She tried to give me some pill to try to make me relax. I did not take that shit. I was like, nope. I do not mess with pharmaceuticals anyway. So I was like, I am not taking that pill. Um, Talking about make me relax. And then earlier I heard somebody saying something about they got a razor blade on them. I'm like, hell no, I ain't going to sleep. So then I remember I was sitting in a chair in the hospital, and then this woman, she got on like this, like it was like a payphone or something in the room, and she's like, talking to somebody on the phone, and she was speaking so oddly about it too. Like she would say, "Yeah, I don't feel safe in here." Like that's the tone that she was, speaking. She was like, "Yeah, I don't feel safe in here." Like I'm pregnant with a baby and people might be violent. They might try to hurt me. I gotta get out of here. And I'm thinking, why is she talking like that? Like, why is she talking as if like she's trying to incite something? And me, I'm very intelligent. You could tell by the way how I speak that I'm very articulate, and I analyze very well. And I'm like, why is she? And I just got another chill when I said that. I'm like, why is it? Why does it sound like she's talking as if like she's trying to incite something? You know, and whatchamacallit, then I remember while I was at that hospital, at least that first hospital, I remember I kept hearing the at least now I could say with synthetic telepathy. I kept hearing the voices saying, "Chris, you don't realize you snitching on everybody. You just told the doctors that you heard us." And I was like, "Who the hell are you though? Like, I don't even know. How am I snitching if I don't even know who the hell you are?" And they was like, "You're not supposed to tell nobody." See, and now, and then look, the chills then started vibrating even harder now. Um, and they're like, "You're not even supposed to know about this technology." Oh no, did they even say technology? I don't know. I don't think at that point. No, I didn't know it was technology yet. So they was like, "You're not supposed to tell nobody about us." So now you got two choices. You either gonna become a cop or you gonna be a snitch. And then I'm like, wait, how the hell is that an ultimatum for me? And I have no idea what the hell is going on. So, yeah, and then I remember I went into the bathroom, and then there's this kind of like like a it's like a not really like a well I guess you could call it like a window, but it wasn't like a normal window. But there was a window that stretched like vertically, almost like the length of a full adult sized body or whatever. But it was really thick, and you couldn't necessarily see everything outside in details, but you could see outside. It was on the street level, and I remember, the synthetic telepathy of V2K was like, you don't even realize we could shoot you right now. We could shoot you from outside. And I'm like, what the hell? And at this point I'm still scared though, because I'm like, I don't know what is happening right now. And I'm just like, for one thing I know, I don't think this hospital is going to help me. And remember, like in my earlier videos, I talked about how like when I went to the hospital and I told one nurse, what I was experiencing, and then she walked me this, um, into this very, very busy, crowded section of the ER. And then she had me tell other nurses or staff members that was sitting at this long table. She was like, "Tell them what you told me." And then I was like, "Well, I was at home, in my apartment." And then all of a sudden I started to hear voices. And I kid you not, it had to be at least about 30 people all doing different things in the ER. When I said that out loud, every single person stopped what they were doing and they all looked at me. It was like a glitch in the damn it was like a glitch in the entire world. Like everybody stopped what they were doing and then they looked at me. And I was like, what the hell just happened? And then they all just started doing what they were. It was almost like they stopped because they heard what I said, looked at me like it registered, and then they continued doing whatever they were doing. Now, and then now, if I come back, now to the present, and knowing that the CIA has been doing numerous, experiments on American civilians, for years, especially if you know about MK Ultra and um um what is it? I think it's called Operation Dark Winter and um what else? And I just came across Operation Stellar Wind. I just came across that one. But yeah, there's all kinds of experiments that the CIA has been conducting on U.S. citizens for decades. And you know what I'm coming to realize is um I'm not going to say I'm hopeless at this point, but there are millions, probably millions of people in just this country alone that are integrated into a system that is so huge that it almost doesn't even matter how well you are at getting evidence about people who are doing certain things. It's like when I think about TIs that try to collect evidence against people who are, well, I mean, if you can actually get the evidence to record people who are doing like physical break-ins in your home or things that's all the power to you. Me personally, my harassment is too covert. And then if it ever does get to an over, it's only because the covert was kind of sloppy. You know, you know, yeah, for the most part. I haven't really experienced too much of the physical stuff. I mean, like if I'm walking down the street or whatever, yeah, I'll get people subliminally saying things, but you can't entertain that. That's subliminal messaging, basically. Subliminal messaging to induce thoughts of fear in your mind. And no one's ever really like physically try to come at me. I mean, there were times where like if I was walking down the street, and there was a time where I was walking down the street with my hand cart and I was at work, and then this guy, he already looked like like a somebody who was already aggravated with him because I could see him from for almost like a quarter of the block away, and as he gets closer, he like flinches at me, like he jumps at me. I don't stop. I don't even like flinch or anything because I seen him coming. So I was like, okay, he's probably gonna be a perp that's going to do something to try to get a reaction out of me. In my mind, he was passing on my left side. In my mind, I'm thinking to myself, if he were to actually get to a point where he's about to do something, I already had my hand like ready because I was about to swing on him. Like if he did look like he was about to do something, I was about to swing on him. But then at the same time, it wouldn't make no sense for someone to actually do something like that because we were across from 26 Federal Plaza. If you live in New York City, you know what's in 26 Federal Plaza. It's not just immigration, but that's also the FBI. So I'm thinking to myself, you would be a damn fool to try to attack me in front of this building. You would be a damn fool if you think you're gonna intimidate or attack me in front of this building. And I used to be in that building all the time because my sister used to work in that building. You know, but anyway, yeah. So, um, yeah, I don't know. These perps, they basically got the spirit of fear, flowing all through them, and I'm just saying, for me, I'm not gonna focus on the who, because I figure it's too many who's. It's entirely too many who's. I'm going after the system itself. Just like how those two senators from New Mexico and Oregon are going after the CIA for them to disclose this system. Now, what I can do is I can collect enough evidence to prove that I myself am being, harassed or targeted by this system, and I haven't shown any signs of being a uh like a uh like I haven't shown any signs of me being like a domestic terrorist, any type of violent, offender, or any type of like largely profiting, drug dealer or anything like that. Like I'm not even, I shouldn't be on nobody's radar, because nothing that I do should ever put me on the radar of this magnitude of being, you know, surveilled by, with secret technology and things of that sort. You know, and with this whole, secret society, gang stalking, whatever, you know, but the part that gets me, right? The part that really gets me is the telepathy people. Um, because the four voices, I recognize their voices, like it's like, I recognize their voices because they either live in my old building, or at least his mother live in my old building. And he's like, "Oh, the streets is watching your videos now." And I'm like, the streets? Why would the streets be working with people who basically set up other people for crimes they didn't commit, and then call the police on that person, and then say that that person committed a crime? I'm like, what part of the streets is that? Like, that's not the part of the streets that I grew up knowing, unless the streets evolved into something else. Because I'm thinking to myself, since when did the streets become government or snitches for the police? I mean, I don't know. Like, so maybe I missed something at some point over the years. Maybe I missed the memo, but um, yeah, like I don't get it, because, and then also when I think about it, why would the streets be comfortable with the idea that someone can actually extract your memories and then view your memories on a screen like a whole video or movie? That means, and then they can do it to everybody. They can do it to everybody. So I'm thinking to myself, why would the streets be okay with someone who can basically take everything that you've ever done, seen, or felt, upload it to a cloud on the internet, and then view it, or send that information to somebody else? Why would anybody in the streets even allow someone to have that much power? Like, why would nobody want to take somebody like that out? Because that's like that. I don't understand, why would that be an allowable thing? Maybe because they don't know how they can, maybe they don't know how they can find this person, so it's like, might as well just leave it alone and just go along with it. I don't know, but yeah, I have no idea how the streets are involved with something like that, you know. But anyway, I'm still trying to piece the whole virtual reality thing together. But then, when I think about how there's the radio frequencies that's all around us, and then you got the the extreme pollution of man-made electromagnetic fields. I'm slowly starting to see how virtual reality can be integrated into the physical, three-dimensional world. Or are we four-dimensional? I forgot what our physical world is called. But anyway, um, and then there's the technology about how you can, about tactile virtual reality. I finally figured out that term. Tactile virtual reality is a new advanced version of virtual reality that integrates your senses with virtual reality. So everything that you see, hear, and also feel, you can feel things that aren't physically in front of you. So it's like if you're in VR, right? and there's a doorknob in the VR. You can reach out and touch that doorknob in the VR, but you would feel like you're touching a doorknob. You know, then so there's that part, and then just and I didn't know about this, and like I've heard stories about TIs who like they're in their homes, and especially, yeah, especially women, they talk about how sometimes they feel like they've been penetrated by someone and there's no one there, like they feel like they've been sexually assaulted but there's no one there. And I can even attest to this because I used to feel like sensations on my body, like if someone took a ballpoint pen and they were like running it against my neck, and then I would hear the V2K voice, or at least I call them Michael. Since I don't know their real names, it's two guys. I call them Michael and Tyshawn, and then there's two women. I call them Jasmine and Destiny. Right. Michael is the main one. He's always on. He's always on. He's never off. He's always on. Um, yeah, Michael and Tyshawn, they're always on the mic. But Michael is always on. And then Destiny and Jasmine, they kind of interchange. Very rarely they're on at the same time. But anyway, um, matter of fact, their voices are recorded in the what you call it. It's not the one that says live, recording live synthetic telemetry, because I like that one's much harder to hear because I'm trying to play the recording from my phone to my laptop, right? There's another video. There's another video that was posted within the last 2 weeks or so, and it basically shows me playing the original audio of a recorded of a recording, and then I play the edited version, and you can hear their voices, right? So whatchamacallit, where was I going with this? Dang, I done lost my train of thought. But anyway, so yeah, golly, I lost my train of thought. Um, oh, I can't remember. And you hear they're still adjusting stuff. They always like when they drag it. I know they're trying to get something in a better position. Sometimes they'll pick something up and set it back down. A lot of time that's also a way to see if they can break the concentration. That's something else. For whatever reason, right? You know that feeling that you do, like when you're trying to focus on reading something or you're trying to listen intently, like as if like you're trying to block out the sounds of other things it's like when you're trying to block out sound, like when you're trying to read, right? That feeling in your head when you're like focused on something, and then you just want to block out all other sound. For whatever reason, I think that interrupts some portion of their brain mapping capabilities, because the harder I focus on, or the harder I focus, or the more um, tighter I grip on that. It's like, how do I explain it? It's like there's a valve or something in my brain, and it's like when I focus, it's like I try to tighten that valve. Whatever it is, I don't know. Maybe it's the pineal gland or something. I'm not sure. But whenever I try to focus, it's like I'm tightening something, And then every time I would tighten that whatever that part is in my brain, it does feel like it's whatever I'm tightening or when I'm focusing, it feels like something in the center of my brain I'm closing. So um they would always say, whatchamacallit, just watch the movie, Christopher. Like if I'm watching TV but I won't relax and I won't let that and I won't, stop focusing in my head, they're like, just watch the movie, Christopher. It's like they want me to relax, right? And then whenever I don't relax, that's when I would hear more of the things, like these hard things dropped on the floor right above my head. And the moment you do that, like the moment they do that, it's supposed what it's supposed to do is be a distraction. The moment you hear something like a distractive sound, it kind of like takes you away for a second, and you lose concentration on whatever the one thing that you were doing. And that's when out of nowhere, you start to feel this sensation like something is being tuned in your mind, or in within your body. Um, yeah, they probably readjusted their amp or their speaker or whatever on the floor, because now my body is vibrating now. As you can see, I'm literally laying on my bed in my room. Well, I don't have the light on, but yeah. And then I'm trying to figure out a way to ground my mattress. So Robert Stanson. I don't know where in the US he's at. I forgot where, but I seen a video that he did where he actually grounded his bed mattress. Well, more like he was in a hotel, and I don't really condone what he did, but basically he cut holes. He cut holes into the mattress, right? And he took alligator clamps, copper wiring, and I think like pieces of metal that were separate from the bed, and he attached or ran copper wiring through the springs of the mattress, and he attached the alligator clamps to the springs of the mattress. And I mean, I know about copper grounding at this point. So basically, what that does is when you clip the alligator clamps to the springs, right, and then you have copper wiring attached to the alligator clamps, the energy that's stored in the metal springs of your mattress will then transfer through the metal alligator clamp and into the conductive copper wiring. Once it goes through the copper wiring, you attach the other end of that copper wiring to another alligator clamp, and then you would clip that to a separate piece of metal, something that's probably like a chair, or I don't know, it has to be some other type of metal that's not connected to anything else. And basically what that does, it basically takes all the radioactive energy that's stored in the metal. Think of well, I don't really know how nuclear reactors work, but I'm pretty sure that what you call it. I think for whatever reason, energy is stored in metal. Uh, energy or radiation is stored in metals, and then if the what you call it, if the metals, how does it go? The metals can heat up. I forgot how it goes, but anyway, yeah, he's basically transferring the energy from the metal springs of the mattress and into through copper wiring and into something else. Anyway, I done took up enough time. I keep saying I'm gonna try to see if I can make these videos shorter, but when you're dealing with all this, it's hard to just keep it simple and to the point. But I don't know, maybe I could just give less details or whatever, but I don't know. I feel like the more detailed I am, the less likely it's to seem like, oh, he's crazy. But anyway, all this is coming to light anyway. But as always, stay vigilant, stay studious. Do not let the spirit of fear get entwined into you. Remember, more times than likely, if they're using electronic harassment against, if you're not going through like the physical gang stalking and you're just mostly going through the electronic stuff, they're not going to lay hands on you because that's going to be too sloppy. Those who are dealing with the actual physical break-ins and things of that sort, um, they're basically, they may do something to you, because they don't have the technology in their hands yet. But those of us who are, dealing with the electronic harassment stuff, remember, keep in mind, I believe they have a contract that they have rules, they have a system. They can't do certain things, uh, because remember, they have to stay covert. They have to keep everything very precise and planned and things of that sort. So they can't just outright just like kill you unless they get somebody else involved, who probably is already, mentally unstable and make them come at you or whatever, because I've heard stories where like, um, like let's say, somebody can put the thought in another person's head and be like, this person said you this, this person said something about you, and then next thing you know, that person come at you and just be like, you know, they'll they'll be the aggressor, and then they'll attack you even though you know nothing about this person. But anyway, if you don't have a religion, then at least believe in the creator, because the creator said, do not blaspheme my name, because when it is all said and done, and we are finished with our trial and tribulation, those of us who are strong enough to withstand and endure the wrongful persecution of the world, we will either inherit the earth or we will be granted eternal life. And you can't have eternal life in your flesh body. That can only happen in your spiritual body. So when you leave your vessel, you will be granted eternal life. If you've been doing everything, not everything right, because none of us is perfect, but if you've been, at least for the most part, trying to keep the Ten Commandments, um, because I mean, the Ten Commandments is basically the bare minimum things that God asks of us. Um, just at least do that, and I believe God is gonna still have favor over you. But yeah, like I always say, take life one breath, one thought, one step, one day at a time. Peace.